So the target of Across was to design, let's say, project evaluation technique based on community needs, though, not just use cases that we would invent that make sense for us, being also the users, but test cases on top of these use cases, which will follow the typical software validation process. So you design test requirements, you design test expectations, and the tests fail until you reach, let's say, the desired state. And then this is where you can claim that you have generalized, let's say, use case towards the test case definition. The second target was to contribute to large open source communities, and this is what happened. So the main orchestration stack, the domain orchestrator, and the multi-domain orchestrator is actually a software that we have contributed towards ETSI, SDG OpenSlice. And OpenSlice is the domain orchestrator, and Hypo is the new module development group under OpenSlice, and the whole, let's say, orchestration stack now is open sourced under an ETSI repository. We have also leveraged other open source components by ETSI, which was, the famous open source manual for NV deployments and Teraflow SDN for transport layer orchestration. And also, we have tried to incorporate definitions, not rather influence, but this is something that it can change now. Contributions from major SDOs, such as Teamform and 3GPP, in terms of integrating with orchestration layers and the infrastructure layers with interfaces stemming from 3GPP. OpenZT was the open source platform that we used for the zero-touch connectivity fabric. And this is something that it is inherently incorporated within the multi-domain orchestrator as it's open source now. The third target was to appear, of course, in large community events. We worked too much, actually, to be not to disseminate things, and this is what happened mainly in events that SNS was present, like UCNC and 6G Summit, but also in ETSI events, since we have been using and developing software that stemmed from ETSI. So we have appearances in both SNS for SNS conferences in ETSI, both in 2024 and 2026. We have appearances also in plenaries, POCs, and ecosystem days of the software themselves. And also we have made a POC at the Zero Touch Network Service and Management, the famous ICG ZSM of ETSI. And last but not least, what we wanted to do is create a legacy for future projects. This project is a legacy of Across. We claim it in the proposal as well. At the time of this presentation, which was given at the latest, let's say, review by the technical manager of Across, which was George Katsikas from UBTech, we just mentioned Copilot, which is a cluster 4 project, which was the one that it was accepted till this day. But also now we have a legacy transitioned in SNS as well with 6G-OPTICON. And we plan to work on the same way. So we will create, let's say, contributions that will be leveraged later on. Not in future SNS, most probably, since it will be the last call, but why not a new funding program? So, as I've said, we have followed a similar approach with test cases definition in Across as well. So we had the overall platform, as we've said. This combines multi-domain and domain orchestration, so this is a huge box, I would say. It had an NBI, which external stakeholders had to communicate with, so to make their definitions or the intentions clear on what they wanted from the Across platforms. And we had the SBI that communicated with Across testbeds in a secure way. So the test cases try to tackle different points of view. The first one, test case 1, was, or test case 1 family, was the stakeholder-driven zero-touch orchestration. So what we expect to test at this family was stakeholder-driven interactions. And this is what happened, as we shall see later on with a brief, let's say, zoom in the test case family. The second family wanted to tackle how the orchestration platform would self-manage events stemming or originating from the southbound interfaces, so from the testbed themselves. So this test case family tried to resolve closed loops within the platform without the need to the user without the need of intervention of the user. The third test case family was the intelligence aspects that we wanted to integrate within across. This was, I wouldn't say limited, but of course, this was an aspect that there wasn't the main focus of across, and this is where we should leverage as a starting point here, which it leveraged raw events or data from the orchestration platform and operated in a closed loop to make this data, let's say, more smart, or iterate on this data so it could feed back the orchestrators with actuation policies. And the fourth test case family is the test case family that it was showcased in ZSM and tried to incorporate core aspects of every family. So a family and parent aggregating test case.